You sit down at the piano for an hour, practice a new piece, and by the end of the session, you're hitting every note. You feel like you've mastered it, but when you return the next morning, your fingers stumble. For decades, the medical consensus was that after childhood, human brains locked into place. Researchers believed that once you reached puberty, the only physical alterations you could expect were negative, like losing cells to aging or suffering damage from a stroke. Advances in MRI technology revealed a different reality. Even when you are sitting still and thinking about nothing, your brain remains highly active and constantly capable of reorganization. That overnight loss happens because the initial practice session only triggered a temporary chemical surge. When those signals fade into total darkness, the brain lacks the physical architecture required to retain the movement. Every time you learn a new fact or practice a new motion, you physically change your brain. Researchers call this capacity for reorganization neuroplasticity. The first phase of this process is chemical. To support immediate learning, your brain increases the concentration of chemical signals transferring between neurons, flooding the pathways to trigger a rapid series of reactions. This rapid chemical transfer delivers an immediate boost to your short-term memory. It allows you to see dramatic improvement in a motor skill over the course of a single afternoon. This pause creates a temporary spike in performance. If those signals don't escalate, the elevated chemicals abruptly dissipate while you sleep, leaving the brain exactly as it was the day before. Retaining a skill requires the second phase, structural change. This takes time, as the brain grows new physical connections between neurons supporting long-term memory. We see this physical growth in people who read Braille. Because they rely heavily on touch, the sensory areas in their brains corresponding to their hands are demonstrably larger than those of non-readers. London taxi drivers provide similar evidence. To earn their license, they must memorize the entire map of the city. As a result, the regions of their brains devoted to spatial mapping physically expand. This leads to the third phase, functional change. As specific regions enlarge and become more excitable through use, the brain shifts how and when entire networks activate, making highly practiced behaviors effortless. Permanent learning manifests as a literal architectural enlargement and rewiring of specific brain regions. To cross the threshold from a fleeting chemical signal to a permanent physical structure, the brain requires a specific catalyst. That driver is your behavior. Rebuilding the brain requires massive, sustained doses of practice. This chart shows the relationship between practice difficulty and structural brain growth. The data reveals a clear trend. Increased struggle and friction during practice directly results in greater structural change. But this system is impartial. Neuroplasticity works in both directions. If you repeatedly engage in negative behaviors, your brain will physically hardwire itself to support bad habits or chronic pain. Struggle is the biological prerequisite for permanent rewiring. By avoiding difficulty, you actively prevent the structural changes required for long-term improvement. Stroke recovery serves as the ultimate stress test of these principles. Patients must use focused behavior to force their brains to relearn old motor skills, rebuilding severely damaged physical architecture. A primary challenge in rehabilitation research is that patterns of neuroplastic change vary wildly from person to person. This inherent biological variability dismantles universal formulas. The popular belief that it takes exactly 10,000 hours to master a skill ignores the fact that some brains require far more practice, while others require much less. This chart maps unique structural characteristics called biomarkers. Identifying these individual profiles helps researchers match specific, personalized therapies to the patients most likely to benefit from them. Applying a single, universal blueprint to medical rehabilitation or to standard education ignores the reality that every human brain possesses a unique, adaptable architecture. This concept of personalized medicine directly informs personalized learning. The uniqueness of your brain explains why some children thrive in traditional classrooms, while others require entirely different approaches. Every daily behavior and every avoided action is currently altering your brain structure. To optimize your growth, you must identify the specific conditions and strategies that allow you to learn most effectively. Neuroplasticity reveals that your brain is constantly being shaped by your choices. Through deliberate struggle and active participation in your own learning, you guide the ongoing physical evolution of your mind.